And we're back with some more base loving on oxygen not included. Today's theme is going to be excessive bases. Or really, really excessive bases. Or guys you should have stopped playing a while ago bases. Whatever you want to call it. First up, we've got Gamer43 with the spacerock prefreeze. Now this is a rye map, irregular oil, frozen core, all this sort of stuff. But the frozen core may look a little bit odd to you down there. Whoop. Now, you look at it, it looks like it's oxalite, but that's not actually oxalite. That's oxygen. That's oxygen that's been solidified, as in it has been frozen solid. This is the entire bottom of the map. They pumped oxygen into it, froze it down, liquefied it, and then eventually just solidified it. You can see the all of the piping that went through here to dump supercoolant. There's a whole bunch of leftover chilling elements dumped around the place with steam turbines, heat, and aqua tuners. The entire bottom of the map is just a big block of oxygen. Oops, I suppose. There's also a whole bunch of temperature shift plates behind there, but I silenced the alerts on those just because there was a bunch of red glowing things. But yeah, I've done a frozen core with ice, but I've never done one with liquid oxygen before. Nicely done, sir. You have gone too far. Yeah, just above this. Now, what type of base supports this? Well, one with this many slicksters. This is all just a bunch of molten sticksters down here, though they all dump down into this bottom layer, which is just a confusing mix of all sorts of liquids. I don't think there was really much care at this point. When you've frozen the bottom of the map and turned it into solid oxygen, you don't really care about minor things. Also, for some reason, there's a whole bunch of incubators up here. I couldn't figure out why, so I'm just going to leave them there. Just a couple of interesting notes here. One thing I found really cool about this is there's a couple of petroleum boilers up here that feed into these petroleum generators. Only one side is on at the moment. But these petroleum generators basically vent all their carbon dioxide into space. So it's a powerless way of getting rid of all that carbon dioxide, and they don't seem to be overheating, which is kind of awesome. That means you can just... One thing you always have to do with these things is get rid of all the carbon dioxide they put out, and they put out about 500 grams, which means you need one gas pump per petroleum generator just to keep the carbon dioxide under control. Or, actually, you even need... Works out about the same power-wise if you start using a carbon skimmer. But that's, that's 125 watts per generator. But if you just stick them up here and do this, you never need to worry about that. I kind of like that idea. I'm going to steal that. Yeah, but with that done, let's go have a quick look at the base that does this all. This used to be the core base, but it's been stripped out and removed. This is the old industrial brick over here. But this is the new base. Everything got moved all over tight up against the left-hand side of the map. The first thing might catch your eye is that giant glowing sun in the top right-hand corner of your screen. Yep, that's... I'm not even sure what's in there. I can't see, but... Well, how's May doing in there? Yeah, where is it? Where is it? Let's go grab an overlay here. Right now, May is in a hot tub. There's a hot tub in there. Yeah, don't ask. Then that hot tub is surrounded by an awful amount of bugs. Like, look at the amount of abyss bugs that are in there, or radiant bugs. So with all of those in place, this is actually driving up May's felt decor by quite a bit. Her current environmental decor is 39,567. 39,000. It's gone so far past 9,000, it's ridiculous. Average decor this cycle is 10,000 for this duplicant. I remember the way people keep thinking, like, I know that it's written confusingly, but you're supposed to only get 120 decor on average. That's just the max. That's the maximum amount you need to get the full bonus. They have an average decor from last cycle of 5,000. Wait a minute, I need a calculator. All right, I worked it out. Last cycle, they had 47 times more decor than they needed to get the maximum bonus. They only needed 120. They had 47 times the required amount. You've gone too far, sir. You have gone too far. I love it. I love it. Right, so I never thought of that. Just absolute massive decor bombing. If they go in and use the hot tubs, they're basically going to have so much decor exposure, it'll overshadow anything. They could swim in as much heavy wire as you wanted. It still wouldn't be able to counteract all of that decor exposure. That is insane. All right then, but regular base going in here. You've got your giant Atmosuit dock set up. There's two Rodriguez's set up here to feed this whole thing. So they're all just dumping in an enormous amount of oxygen. Then you've got your beds. It's actually gone along with normal comfy beds. Go for it. Decor-wise, there's a few abyss bugs thrown in here, but they're not really that necessary. The reason being, well, decor exposure, as you can imagine, is absolutely insane. Anyway, down here you've got your toilets, but this is sort of doubled up. As in, They've put in 6 toilets at the rear and then 4 sinks at the front, and the sinks just happen to span 2 rooms. They still get the bathroom bonus, it's just there's plenty of sinks to cover them on the way out. When it comes to food, you've got your dining halls. There's actually several. There's 41 duplicants in the space. So you've got your dining halls. There's multiples of them around the place, but all the food is stored over here in this section, which is actually frozen and covered in chlorine, just to double down and make sure that none of that food ever goes off. Oh, now, where was it? Yeah, there is a sour gas boiler around here somewhere. Where did I put it? We've got a sort of a petroleum boiler attached to a sour gas boiler, and this is pretty interesting. It's very compact. Here it works with sort of a drip, was it a drip pump? A bead pump, liquid bead pump I think these are called. This is going to be a little complicated to explain. I'm going to try, but the easy part to remember is these are bead pumps, liquid bead pumps. So as the water comes out here, because you have a mesh tile beneath it, it causes the liquid to sort of stick to the side of the walls. You can actually see it here if you put up the gas overlay. You can actually, well, liquids, they're the 2 liquid blobs, and they keep going down, as in as they pop out of this, and it forces the gases up. So what happens is any gases that end up here at the bottom get forced out by the liquid going the opposite direction. Or the liquid coming down forces the gases up. This sort of helps suck the gas out of the bottom here, which is why the pressure here is staying about the same. So what happens is petroleum gets dumped in here, slides all the way to the bottom, and then at that point it turns to sour gas. And then the incoming petroleum keeps forcing it out the top. So that sour gas gets pushed out, and it acts at the same time as a sort of a heat exchange. For example, you'll see there's 5 kilos of petroleum there, and it's at, 333 degrees. And then if you go down a couple of tiles, 5 kilos of petroleum, 411 degrees. And we let it down another couple of chunks, and it's now 526. It's almost started boiling into sour gas. So that's all it's doing. The gas it's pushing out is actually exchanging heat with it because the temperature shift plates, and it gets forced out the top. It's basically a pump and a counterflow heat exchange all in one. They're very handy little features. Now that gets up here, at which point there's another liquid bead pump, but this one is powered by supercoolant dripping down the side. And this is where it gets a little bit more confusing because there's multiple systems working together to get this working. There is some supercoolant coming in here, and this stuff is, it's coming in about -3, -7 degrees. It's pretty chill. So between that, and it forces that hot sour gas, which is still about 160, 170 degrees, it forces it up here and cools it at the same time. Up here there's a big bunch of supercoolant going around, chilling it down to its final stage to turn it into methane, and that methane then gets pumped. But it gets pumped, where is it? Yeah, it gets pumped all the way down and over here. This gets a little confusing. And then there's another bead pump here. This bead pump causes this really cold methane to get bead pumped up here, where it gets stored up for pumping into natural gas generators. But you notice it's a lot hotter up here. Why is that? Well, it turns out there's a bunch of hot supercoolant coming in here, forcing it around. Where does the hot supercoolant come from? Well, that actually comes from over here. This is the hot supercoolant that's counterflowing against the sour gas from over here. So all the supercoolant that got dropped down here gets heated up by the sour gas. That hot supercoolant gets dumped over here to warm up all the methane. And then this causes this supercoolant to get dumped in here to get chilled, because it's passing by all this cold methane, which then gets pumped over here to go past the sour gas. Yes, I know, that's terribly confusing. This supercoolant over here is really hot. It gets dumped over this side to warm up the methane. That supercoolant gets chilled down by the methane, which then gets dumped down over here to cool down the sour gas. It's all sort of pre-cooling, pre-chilling. It's all recycling the heat all the way around. Yes, that's terribly confusing, but that is a wonderfully cool sour gas boiler if you want to give it a try. The save game files for all of these are going to be included, though fair warning, they will hurt your computer when you load them up. Despite the insanity of this base, it actually feels rather lived in. You can see all the leftover projects from lots of things that went on. For example, there's the Rodriguez's that produced all the oxygen to fill up the core of the map. There's some desalinators here for some salt water that no longer exists. More cooling loops over here. Not all the slicksters are up and running at the moment because the carbon dioxide production wasn't there. It's slowly coming online because of all of the natural gas generators. There's a couple of just natural gas generator farms around the place like this, and the whole map is very, very toasty, except in the cooler areas in the home base. I still think you went too far, though. You went way, 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 way too far. Industrial brick is fine. Oh, what was it? Yes, that was it. Let's have a quick look at the overlays on this map. I think you'll find it pretty interesting. First up, we've got the gas overlay. Now, you'll notice it actually looks quite decent, but there's loads of little messy bits about the place. It feels like a proper lived-in base. Now, where is it? Liquid overlay. Dear Lord, the amount of piping in that base is crazy. You can see down here where they were doing all the cooling. That's a couple of petroleum boilers over there, which are nicely mirrored. Home base over here. This here was where the former main base used to be, so that's why it's a bit messy. Where's the next one? Temperature overlay. The entire map is just roasting. Bear in mind, this is Rime. Like, this map started off freezing cold. The entire map was Baltic. And now it's basically an inferno everywhere except for some of the pre-cooled places due to, an industry. Industry is the only thing keeping some of the places from not being roasting. And then you've got the power grid. Oh, God. Yep. That is... There was no late game restructuring on this one. You can actually see this is the main core spine that used to go through the central base before everything was moved over this side. That is a lived-in base. You went too far, sir. You went too far. I love it. Next up, we have Roland Ireland with the American Dream. This map has 36 oil wells on it. Yep, that's a lot of oil wells. Let's start with something small and simple. Yep, let's just start with the industrial brick, because it's just, your average industrial brick. Just ignore that giant pile of molten glass. We'll get back to that one. What happens here is anytime these metal refineries here are used, the hot material, which is molten aluminum, they're using molten aluminum as coolant inside their metal refineries, because that's what you do. That's of course not excessive at all. That gets sent up here and rotates through these diamond tiles, dumping heat into them. That heat is then transferred across and into this molten salt. Yes, there is a layer of molten salt here. And where this is all very standard, normal stuff. When that molten salt heats up too much, it becomes gas. It's almost there right now. When it turns into a gas, it then starts touching the window tiles above it, which allows it to transfer heat up here into these steam turbines to drive them. It's basically a molten salt reactor for extracting the maximum amount of heat out of these things. Also, there's a big pile of molten glass in here. I don't even want to know. I don't want to know. I don't want to find out anymore. But the decor down here, still surprisingly amazing. Look at that. All of the pedestals down there are just dumping oodles of decor in there, making it wonderful and beautiful. Let's get on with the oil. This place is called the American Dream for a reason. There is a lot of oil in this map. You'll see that all of that oil is getting pumped onto main lines. And when I say main lines, this is going to get confusing. So usually what it'll be is there'll be three of these oil wells all linked up to one line. And then those will start linking up, and even more of them link up, and even more of them link up, and even more of them, and then, yes, we get to here. Yep, be afraid. Be very, very afraid. Then this is the sort of centralized oil storage tank where all the oil gets dumped, and then the oil from there gets dumped across into these pumps. These pumps then go across here and go up, and we have a line of petroleum boilers. And when I say a line, I mean a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, a 5, a 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 petroleum boilers in a row. And all of them are active. Every single last one of them. That's 11 petroleum boilers. So what? 110 kilos of petroleum per second. As you can imagine, that's a lot of petroleum. That's an awful amount of petroleum. In fact, just putting on the pipe overlay here causes my computer to have a little bit of a seizure. Just a little bit of a one. Look at that glorious piping. That is amazing. I can't wait till we do the pipe overview on this. Anyway, all of this petroleum has to go somewhere. As you can imagine, this would quickly flood your map if you're not careful. That's 110 kilos per second. That's way too much. So all of that petroleum is instead dumped in here into the largest industrial sauna you have ever seen. But this isn't even an industrial sauna. There's no industry in here. There's just power generation. That's it. This is a power sauna. Look at the glorious amount of petroleum generators. All of them running flat out, generating absolutely glorious amounts of power. There's a carbon dioxide vent in here because, why not? Who cares? There's another carbon dioxide vent over here because why not? The whole thing is a whole bunch of steam turbines strapped on top. In fact, it's double layered with steam turbines. We've got steam turbines in one section and then another set of steam turbines down here just to take care of the gobs of power coming out of us. Also, there's polluted water pouring out of this, remember. But it's so hot in here, the polluted water that's coming out, I think it's 750 grams of polluted water per second per generator. So the reason for all of these steam turbines is, if they weren't there, they wouldn't be able to suck out the water fast enough and the pressure would get too high. As it is, there's how much gas pressure we're looking at? About 46 kilos of steam. Carbon dioxide wise 40 kilos of carbon dioxide. We also have some slicksters in here who are doing a very pathetic job at trying to soak up all that carbon dioxide. They have not got a hope. Remember that we talked about in the last map, you need about one gas pump for every petroleum generator to extract the carbon dioxide efficiently? Well, let's just have a quick glance at the gas overlay. Ronan, you have gone too far. Oh my god. Oh, that is beautiful. That is hypnotic and beautiful. And, oh, yep, the computer doesn't like it when I move the screen. So all of that carbon dioxide flows up here to the top of the map where it's dumped into the vacuum of space. Space is having a hard time dealing with that much. You'll see here that the carbon dioxide makes it quite a decent distance before it eventually dissipates into the vacuum of space. There's just so much of the stuff. In fact, back here it's like up to pressures of 10 kilos because the vacuum of space just can't handle it. That is gloriously insane. That is just so far beyond the pale. I love also that the carbon dioxide goes through here. These pipes are made of mafic rock, but they're not insulated. They're only insulated where they pass through the steam turbine area so that they don't drag heat into the steam turbine area. If they dump a bit of heat across here, it doesn't really matter. That is just insane. Absolutely insane. Now we have a couple of other mega projects we should probably look at. We've got, well, right over here, we've got a sour gas boiler because, you know, this base doesn't have enough power already, what with 11 petroleum boilers. So anyway, this one is just literally brute force. They're not even trying to recycle any of the heat here. All that happens is these aquatuners provide a awful lot of heat that boils all of the crude oil that gets dropped in here. That crude oil turns to sour gas. It flows up into the left, up into the right, and flows down the sides. These aquatuners are providing cooling. So they cool down the sides here, which makes sure any of the sour gas that goes down there immediately gets turned into liquid, which drops down here, and then it overflows the sides. Once it's filled up here, there's several tons of methane down here. That overflows the side and gets down to this tepidizer, which, you know, every so often turns on and flashes it to gas. You'll notice here, there's a lot of natural gas. There is 79,000 kilos of natural gas pressure per tile. And where is that all going? Well, I'm glad you asked. All of that is barely being used. In fact, these 4 lines, only 2 of them are actually being used. One of them goes to some natural gas generators. The other one goes to the cooking station. So this gas range is powered by a line of natural gas coming from a sour gas boiler. Yep, that seems entirely excessive, but on a base like this, I think it's not that crazy, really. Not that crazy at all. Now let's have a quick look at the regolith melter, because, you know, we've already got all the power. Why not get a regolith melter just to have all the power? Anyway, the regolith comes in over this side, goes around and goes through the steam turbines, and you'll see there's counter-flowing igneous rock coming the opposite direction. So it sort of preheats, well, it actually pre-chills a little bit down here. It comes in at about 300 degrees. It chills a little bit coming through here, but by the time it comes past all of the steam turbines and all of the diamond tiles, and yep, there's a lot of heat transfer. By the time it goes past all of them and gets out here, it's 1100 degrees. And the outgoing igneous rock is about 1300. So it goes through here, another bit of a counterflow heat exchanger, all the way until it gets to this section. This confused me for a little bit, but let's see. This is the incoming regolith, and it flows up here. And what it does is it's flowing up these obsidian tiles. These obsidian tiles won't melt, and they are touching the magma up here. So what happens is the igneous rock, or the regolith, slowly comes up through here, and once it gets to about this point, you can see little blobs of magma there. So it's melting on the rail. You can see it on the rail there. It is melted, and as it melts, it turns into magma. And then what happens is, excuse me, and as it turns into magma, it flows down, and as it flows down, it's actually touching the sides of the obsidian, so it's actually dumping heat into the obsidian as it goes. By the time it gets down to the bottom, it's just about chilled out, turns into igneous rock. Igneous rock gets dumped across, and that is how it gets added to the counterflow going to the opposite direction and dumping itself into the steam turbines and all that. Wow, just damn. Yeah, if this gets in it, if there's too much magma in here at any one point, this door opens and a little bit of magma gets out to flow down here and gets kicked out as well. This whole thing is just ridiculous. It really is. Like, there's how much power do you need? Well, you got to be able to manage that somehow. So here we have the 2 power grids. This here is a visualization of how much power is being drawn. On the left-hand side is the left-hand side of the base. On the right-hand side is the right-hand side of the base, in general. And this here is an indication of how much of the 50 kilowatt potential is being drawn. Now, and what I mean by that is, let's go grab the power overlay. Say this is the heavy watt conductive wire. This is how much power is being consumed at the moment, 33.5 5. And if you look here, you can see it sort of as a graphical representation. As it goes up and down, this goes up and down. If this was maxing out at 50 kilowatts, you know you're hitting the maximum safe wattage. Power produced on this line is 80 kilowatts, so it can handily take whatever is thrown at it. It's just a case of making sure you don't go over your power allotment. This one only has 67 kilowatts being produced on it. It can still only handle a maximum of 50, so it's not like we're underpowered here. And it has a maximum power consumption right now of about 28, 29. So yeah, there's just a nice little graphical interface to tell you how much power your base is consuming. Very nice. That's not even excessive. That just is really cool. I want to steal that idea. Just to the left of this beautiful little indicator system, we've got... Oh, games didn't like that. Just to the left, we've got the actual space... the space accommodation. This is for all of the astronauts. There is 8 rockets, and from what I can tell, there is 8 astronauts that stay in this little perfect little space place for them. The cool thing, though, here that I really like is the nature reserves. There's a nature reserve mounted on top of their bedrooms, and that just gives them a bit of a morale bonus when they're passing back and forth. At the same time, it's 6 thimble reeds providing the plants, so you actually get thimble reeds, which are really handy, providing the bonus. I love that integration of usefulness combined with actual productivity. Anyway, a quick space look at the space program up here. It's 8 rockets all the way across. They're all fed by jet suit ducts so they can fly into the rockets. There's the detectors over there. And of course, a giant pool of liquid oxygen and liquid hydrogen, because, anything less than a giant pool of something would be not good enough for a base like this. Down here, you've got the aqua tuners that actually provide the cooling for the liquid hydrogen and liquid oxygen. But you'll also notice they're hooked up to the bottom of these rocket silos. All the exhaust heat from here gets shot down into this steam room, which causes the whole thing to heat up, which jumps into the steam turbines, which generates electricity. So yeah, recycling the heat every which way to have even more power, which I don't know, the base has, at what point is there too much power? Oh yeah, and here's the solar arrays. There's the solar arrays, because why not as well? Now, over here, you'll see there's actually a pool of supercoolant, a pool of petroleum, and this is where the molecular forges are for producing insulation and all that stuff. And you'll be wondering, wow, they're running awfully low on supercoolant. Well, they're not running as low as you might think. Now, where is it? Yeah, yes. What do you call this? Is this a pool of supercoolant or a lake? Personally, I would refer to that as an excess of supercoolant, because that's ludicrous. Dear Lord, a ludicrous of supercoolant, maybe? I don't know. You can decide what you'd like to call it. I think that's just stupid. Oh my God, you've gone too far, Roland. You've gone too far. That's just styling on the map. When you have that much supercoolant that you could literally drown a chunk of the map in it, you've gone too far. Now, over here, there's actually just a little ethanol distillery. That, nothing too crazy about this one. It's just an ethanol distillery. It doesn't seem to have been too crazy. I'm sort of slightly shocked. I was expecting there to be about a bajillion poke shells in here. Let's have a quick look over some of the more mundane aspects of the base, if any of it can really be called mundane. Over here, you've got one of these old school volcano tamers. What happens is it basically chews on the metal the whole way down and drains out all the heat, so that by the time the gold gets out the bottom, it's incredibly cool. It's like, what, 20C? That just means that the metal is never hot when it comes out. Handy way to do things. Then over here, we've got a chlorine gas vent. Now this, oh my God, eh? So, the chlorine comes out here, and then there's a bunch of supercoolant chilled to minus 63. This means any chlorine that ends up over here ends up getting liquefied and dropping down here. This is basically a form of infinite gas storage, because the chlorine won't stay over here. It'll only get liquefied over this side, which falls into this pool, and then because of the lip here, it flows down, and if it ever gets too hot, the pressure gets too high this side, it'll force itself over the top and onto this liquid tepidizer. When the tepidizer gets submerged, it will activate and turn it into, and keep heating it up until it turns into gas. So this area is basically an infinite gas storage, and it doesn't require, it can literally go as high as you want it to. You never have to worry about this overpressurizing, unlike other ones that if they go over 1,000 kilos, they might do it, or something like that. So it's just an energy-free way of doing it almost. It's pretty cool. Now, up here we've got a battery box. Battery box is hooked up to a bunch of steam turbines. It gets too hot, they cause the steam turbines to run, so they're basically self-cooling. Everything here is, of course, made out of steel. There is oodles of steel on this map. And then we got over at this section over here, we've got yourself your shovels. This is just starvation shovel ranching for lots and lots of food. I think some of the excess regolith used to be dumped in here, but now it's all earmarked for the regolith melter. Then at number 6 over here, we've got this hatch farms. Now the hatches here are all fed on igneous rock. The igneous rock is all coming from over here. The end of the regolith melter dumps all of the igneous rock out on this tile. Now, it's on top of this metal tile and a bunch of liquids and all this stuff, just so that it's nice and cooled. It's all getting cooling provided by these aqua tuners over here. Oh, 1 second. Come on, piping. So these aqua tuners are providing cooling over here, and it just makes sure all the igneous rock is nice and chill, and then it goes over there and gets fed to the hatches. Then after that, we've got your wild pinch of peppernut farm, because of course we do. And then down here, we've got a whole bunch of random farms. We've got mealwood, we've got dust caps, we've got more mealwood, we've got thimbleweed. The thimbleweed, though, is only sporadically used to consume polluted water. And then you've got your sleepweed farm. So there's actually quite a bit of temperature gradients going on here. 2 completely different temperature ranges for those crops. They're all temperature controlled, of course. And then at number 9, we have an insulation melter, because of course we do. Roland was the last person to send us an insulation melter as well. I think he's one of the few people who's ever sent us an insulation melter. This thing, very simple. It's a little bit more compact than the last one. Very simple, of course. There's some liquid steel here going through these pipes that's providing a stabilizer for this diamond block. And then every time steel gets made, the liquid niobium that's being used as coolant gets sent across here and split into 1 kilo packets. That way it can't ever solidify in the pipes. And then what happens is it gets passed through these pipes here are made of insulation. There's a very important distinction here. There's insulated pipes made of insulation, and then there's regular pipes made of insulation. The two of them may look the same. They may say they have the same thermal conductivity of 0, but there's a huge difference between the two of them. The difference being that insulated tag. The normal pipe does not have the insulated tag. The insulated pipe does. For the insulated tag means that the only thing considered for thermal transfer between it and everything else is the pipe itself. Or only its thermal conductivity is considered. So the insulated pipe will not really conduct anything, or it's tiny, it's minuscule, you can't really observe it. However, this liquid pipe here, just the normal pipe without that insulated tag, it has a thermal conductivity of 0. However, the conductivity between it and other stuff is actually an aggregate of the two scores, which means you can look at this niobium here. It's 4,000 degrees of liquid niobium going through there. But the moment it gets down to this insulated pipe, it dumps a bunch of heat into it, and then the niobium's temperature plummets to 600 degrees. So what you've got here is a whole bunch of temperature being dumped into those insulated pipes, and they keep getting hotter, like 720, 730, 740, 750, and it's going to keep going up and up and up until eventually it melts. It'll take a while, but after enough batches of steel go through there, it will melt, and when it melts, it falls down in here, and you'll have a bunch of liquid niobium. Wait, liquid tungsten? I think insulation melts into tungsten. It's been a while since I've looked at one of these. But effectively, it gets siphoned out then by this little pump on the side, and then it gets siphoned out and sent back through. The whole thing is just, it's a ridiculous feat of engineering and just time spent, and the amount of time it takes to heat that up. You've got to imagine, this is a whole bunch of diamond window tiles heated up to 3,200 degrees. The only naturally occurring heat you can get even close to that is magma, which is about 1,700 degrees. You have to melt steel just to start. When you're starting your project with melting steel, you've already probably gone too far. Anyway, let's have a quick look at the overlays. Now, I've been warned to pause it before I put on the overlays, because if I go into screenshot mode and try and do the pipe overlays, or is it the pipe or the gas, or maybe both, it will crash the game. I believe it. I truly do. Now, let's have a look-see. You know what? We'll start with the easy ones first. Let's go with temperature. Oh, wow. It just looks so organized. There's the core base. Oh, actually, that's one thing we forgot to check, was the core base. Okay, the core base it's pretty decent, actually, to be honest. The decor in here is unbelievably high. It's about 3,000 decor on these beds, if you'll notice. It's not over 9,000, and it's not close to the 10,000 of the last base, but that's an insane amount of decor. Every single duplicate is getting maximum bonuses out of this place. It is just a nice, beautiful, peachy base. But, nope, 1 second. We are going to go check out, where is it? Yes, temperature overlays. So, this is the temperature. You'll notice, this is like the power sauna. So, everything around here is just absolutely roasted, except for things for industry that's going on. There's the sleepweed farm in nice colors. There's the other farm above that. Everything here where it needs to be chilled is chilled, and it just seems so organized. It's terrifying. Okay, now let's see what the liquid overlay looks like. Oh, God. The whole map is covered in pipes. That is insane. Congratulations, Roland. You have definitely gone too far. Gas piping. Oh, sorry. Jesus. Okay, there is the absolutely insane amount of natural gas piping that was required. That's ludicrous. How long did this take you? How many hours are on this map? 493 hours. Yep. that sounds actually that sounds even less than I was expecting. All right, now let's have a look at the power overlay. This one is probably going to be a little bit. Jesus. Okay. I'm not even. I know there's two separate grids there. I'm not even sure I can try and tease them apart though. That is ludicrous. Let's just have a quick look in here where it's nice and just a little bit of a close up. You can see where the two grids are split here between the two pixel packs over there. Using those pixel packs as power indicators is absolutely inspired. But you'll see that there's actually two separate grids. Wow. Yeah, you can see all these petroleum generators and batteries over here on the right hand side and all of these petroleum generators over here on the left hand side. That is an insane system. Well done, sir. Well done. You have gone miles above and beyond. We could check the mineral overlays, but let's be honest, there's no minerals left. Look, see that pink? All that pink you're seeing on the map? That's insulation. Insulation being one of the rarest and hardest to achieve materials in the game. That's an impressive amount of insulation. Thanks very much for sharing that map, Roland. That was, that was something special, all right. Both the save game files will be attached. Load them up at your own peril. I hope you enjoyed these and good luck.